Sunday Scoops. A lot of things has happened to Jamaican music within the Jamaican music realm over the last couple of weeks, certainly over the last 2 weeks. And we want to take some of those topics. Today, in addition to Mikey, we're going to be joined by Abishai Hyalet. He should be with us in another 10 or 15 minutes. And Abishai, too, another man who has made his bones in the music business, and especially on the technical side. We're going to hear his own positions on some of these developments. But again, just want to use the opportunity to welcome you all to Sunday Scoops. And we just hold on to your seats. It's going to be a nice, riveting, but rough ride as we tackle some of these subjects. The music, gentlemen, the music. I think one of our singers said it best. That is reggae put Jamaica on top. And I think it's a good way
Tony Rebel.
to get this thing started with a little Tony Rebel piece.
I know political, I can know the cook.
Yeah, Reggae Grammy, not just reggae, but dancehall too, because we had man like Shabba Ranking in the 1990s, of course, with the Music Works production. Right, Mikey?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a massive story, a story that ought to be told time and time and time again. It's like the Holocaust. They talk about it all the time.
I know how back-to-back wins too, you know.
Absolutely. But you know, let's take the topic. First of all, I just want to use the opportunity.
Are we killing the music?
Before we even do that, let's talk about killing. We want to use the opportunity to just reach out to the surviving Diamond family members, Mighty Diamonds, and the family members of the two members of the Mighty Diamonds who transitioned a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
We just want to, from a Sunday Scoops standpoint, just express our condolences. You know, we in one fell swoop, we have lost 106 years of music history. That is what happens when people like those, you know, transit, and it just falls to us to try to document the stories behind the music as we go along, because, you know, none of us promised eternity, as my mother always said, and when I leave here alive.
And we got some good stories last week, you know, through Copeland and Sly, especially the Lyceum Ballroom.
Yes, but we dealt with that. We just want to look at now, where are we? Mikey, music, there's a view out there that reggae music is a Jamaican national treasure, right? With strong international impact and, you know, the kind of impact that contributes to national identity. We see in last week, Sunday, the Virginia group SOJA won the reggae Grammy category. And there was a massive hue and cry all over the world. Anybody who have a Jamaica passport or something somewhere in the world start to raise dickens. And, you know, as to cultural appropriation and all sort of thing. Let us take this cultural appropriation argument first and foremost. I notice you chuckle. Is there any basis for that kind of furor or outrage?
The question is, who was the outrage aimed at?
Right.
It couldn't be the Grammys people, because, I mean, it's not a Jamaican award. And the reason why it's such an important award is because it is not a Jamaican award. It is an international award, and held in America, right. Open to anybody.
Right.
Anybody who is nominated by whatever standard is open. And that is what I think make the award prestigious. So in my own little way, I'm saying this could be one of the best things ever happened to the music, happened to reggae, because it remind and all of us that, listen, reggae is an accepted international genre, and to the point where the Grammy Awards saw fit to include it. So in other words, if once it become a Jamaican thing, it can lose some of that shine, that prestige.
Right.
And I think what happened now is that people saying, wow. I know one of the funny things is that anybody who was complaining, I asked them, who did you want to win? Nobody gave me an answer, because nobody knew any of the songs. Colin China called me this yesterday. We had a great conversation. He said, boy, I listen and some is my virgin, but to be very honest, the man and reggae sound better than female. So there's a lot of confusion, as you mentioned, whether reggae mean reggae one drop, straightforward, Bob Marley kind of reggae, or reggae mean Jamaican music made popular in Jamaica, which the jury kind of still out on. And hopefully over the next year, we're going to clarify. But I think more than anything else, I think Jamaica, and there's a level of hypocrisy that go, because Jamaicans, for the most part, have no idea the songs that were on the albums. Apart from the few people in the music industry who probably know about this part. And some of them have gone now, retroactively, and listened. So they kind of know, and I guess the conversation is going to die down, because when I'm listening to it, I'm realizing, I was fighting for the wrong team. I was defending something that wasn't there. So it's forcing us now to say, okay. And the other thing, a friend of mine said I went to a dance, one of the popular week dances. And it's the first in almost 20 years I'm hear so much reggae play in prime time. So a whole lot of things happening as a result of it. But I think it was a storm in a teacup. It was one of them gut reaction.
Knee-jerk group has won reggae in a Grammy. And the contrast now is, though, okay, but what are we doing with the music if we think about what is coming out of Jamaica? I can tell you based on experience and talking to some people, when you go to the parties in Jamaica today, when you play a song today, certain songs, the youth, them will look for you and tell us old music that done with from last week. And, them kill them own self. Back when I was growing up as a kid, you hear when Gregory Isaac's album is released or a single is released, you hear it right through the year, and there's a chart, there's an actual chart that you can see how the music progress and how much weeks it spent on the chart and everything. Music and those
is reggae has always been seen as a global messaging music. Am I right? Right? Or am I
you're
right,
right,
Mike?
you're right.
Eh? Mikey, you hear me?
It has been marketed that way. I don't know. Yeah, it has been marketed that way. I mean, kind of narrowly marketed, but fine. It's a good brand.
And so, what it did, part of it is at the time in the 1970s, early 1980s, when the world is kind of pivoting in terms of the socio-economic and political structure, reggae was part of the trumpeting of that change, it provided that sounding board for people to look at individuals,
and
look
it gave downtrodden people a voice.
Absolutely, it was the voice of the dispossessed, and so because of that label, it really raised the music above pretty much all else that was there, because other music was still being created, DJ music, and some of the other genres were still in vogue in Jamaica, but because of the messaging component and also the impact of Rastafari, because it was also sort of surrounded by the Rastafarian culture and this peace and love kind of thing that carried the music. So this is what sort of set Jamaica apart, and the music in and of itself. I am listening to the bands here in America and what they're playing, and to a large extent, what they're playing sound like that. Eh, Mikey?
But you're up now. The diaspora, I forget the diaspora. Serious credit. The immigrants, those who went to, all of the ethnic pockets in America and England and all over the place, who took the culture. Like I said, it's very narrow to say, boy, it was the music of freedom fight. It was that, but it was a whole heap more, right? And it didn't hurt that we had 3 or 4 superstars. So Chris Blackwell is what a lot of things, for having this vision and seeing this thing. The Harder They Come movie, which that soundtrack of which kind of exploded the music. In other words, and Colin Chan and I had a conversation, and I hope I can get him to come on your program. I have a really keen insight on the thing. And it has to do with almost like the stalling of reggae and the upticking of reggae Afro-Beats and stuff. The launching of reggae is tied in closely with the Harder They Come movie. That soundtrack just kind of set a pace. So between Toots and Jimmy Cliff and, you know, all of the people who were on it.
On that soundtrack, right.
It became a soundtrack for a lifestyle that a lot of people could identify with. And, you know, the harder, I mean, and the overcoming and everything that was involved. Nollywood, on the other hand now, because, I mean, them really don't need the population outside of Nigeria to make a big hit. We in Jamaica, unfortunately, need a population outside of Jamaica to support our music. But because of Nollywood and they must putting out a movie every day with this Afrobeat soundtrack, it was the perfect vehicle to promote the situation. And then now with the serious migration out to Africa and Nigeria, to all of the, you know, the places all over the world, London, Paris, Europe, America, people came and realized, but wait, it is okay to, we don't have to listen to American stuff or thing no more. We can listen to things. Plus, they speak English. So, in other words, we can enjoy ourselves as Africans with Afrobeat and thing. It's popular now. And you know how businessmen are, entrepreneurs are. Whenever they see something like that taking off, in other words, it's something to jump on. So Afrobeat now is the big thing. I mean, there's something in it, because if you listen to it, you hear there's something like that sound Jamaican, sound familiar. There's something that's to a soca man, somebody in the Caribbean, there's that part of it. There's that hip hop part of it. So in other words, is a conflation of a number of the elements.
It's relatable across all F.
That is the proper word, Boss. So it is happening. Reggae now has taken a backseat commercially in terms of certain things, because one, the record companies now with the dawn of the digital age and the numbers start to drop significantly in terms, because people getting things for free, people not buying as much. Record companies lower the budgets for everything and stop signing a lot of people. So, but more and more entrepreneurs have come into the things, small entrepreneurs. So we have 10 times the amount of music being produced in Jamaica than 10 years ago, without the usual gatekeepers. So a lot of things happening. So the Grammy Award, so people come and heard about the Grammy Award, but let us go back and say, what has the Jamaican Grammy Awards done to the recipients of the Grammy Awards? Because, like I say, after a while it became seen as this, you know, Jamaican thing. Or one time it was a Marley thing and there was this like a thing. But Jamaicans, I wasn't paying attention to the Grammys. No Jamaican, I mean, apart from the people doing it. It wasn't getting more play in Jamaica because it was nominated or the winner. So it was like, okay, here's this another award thing. And in the absence of a credible award in Jamaica, I could work with the Grammys. But good music, I don't think Jamaica has ever stopped making good music. But that little symbiotic relationship that used to take place between radio and producers and kind of blew out, because I mean, there's no way any radio station could keep up with the kind of volume, as you mentioned a while ago, of even one particular artist. In other words, somebody putting out 6-7 songs a week. How you can't program that as a radio station. Mm-hmm. So, but then they didn't need radio station anymore, because there was internet. There was all this thing. And so in other words, there were the gatekeepers gone. So people put out anything and say anything, do anything. And so there is this whole, you don't know what is good reggae, what is good music. And like I said, the young people grow up with this kind of unfiltered access to whatever new and
the issue then, what this exposing is the standards within the community that is presenting the music in this kind of concert format. Sound system, dancehall, whatever format. There's a quality issue, and then there's an economic issue. But underlining all of that is the fact that the Jamaican economy in and of itself can't support the music industry in Jamaica, right? And by extension,
in its present state.
Right, but well, you have, what is it, 3 million people live in Jamaica, and there's only about 500,000 people have the wherewithal to buy anything, right? So therein lies the first stage of your problem. The second stage of that is you come to the diaspora. Mikey made a point earlier. in the beginning, it was the diaspora that drove the sale and the expansion of Jamaican music in the overseas market.
And also, you know, the live concerts and that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. The problem is that in the last 10, 15 years, what we are recognizing is that the people in diaspora is not buying the music either. So the question now is, where do you go? You also made a point, Mikey. You look at the African diaspora. The African diaspora counts at something like 140 million people. The Jamaican diaspora only extends to about 3 million if you want to be generous. So in terms of just
Buying
sheer
power.
economic numbers, buying power, you're totally outvoted. So a record company then, who is looking at an artist in terms of where we can grow our business, because remember, music is a big money business. Agree, Mikey?
Indeed.
It's a big money business. So the record companies, record producers, and you said it already, Mikey, given the current environment, a lot of people, the record companies are signing a lot less people. But whoever them are signed, they are looking at the kind of cross mass appeal that they have to the market that is going to drive their numbers. And it is my observation is that somewhere within that cog is where the whole Jamaican business model or lack of it has gotten stuck. Your thoughts, man?
Yeah. I want to add something though. And a really good friend, one of the bright minds that we lost in Jamaica recently. The last conversation we had about music, you know, he was a marketing genius. And he sent me back to the original. He said music was always intended to sell a product, you know, not necessarily itself, right? So if we go back to the early days, pre-recordings, where music was being created, and so the whole copyright thing, so what was being sold were the manuscripts. So people would go to places and hear bands playing these popular music as opposed to playing a record. Liquor companies and technology companies realize that, man, so when music play, more liquor sell. Man say, okay. Man say, if we created some individual equipment that people could walk around and play music, then we and give people, then people buy more Walkman or cassettes. So maybe we should invest in music. Things changed, and the whole digital age. I'm sure nobody predicted that the digital age would create the problem that it did, because everybody with a CD ended up with a master. So I buy a CD and it sounds good. So instead of selling you and you go buy the same CD, as I used to do with the album, I just burn 6 copies from a friend. So right away, you lose 6 sales. So that started the demise of the music industry. But music is also there to sell products. And the product has now become the artists themselves. So the artists that can brand themselves, whether as a gangster, whether as a, you know, whatever, as a freedom fighter and thing, has now put himself in a position to say, okay, what I'm going to be selling now is experience. I'm going to be selling you some creative experience. So when you come to my concert or you buy something that I think, you're experiencing this music in the original, in other words, face to face. So my money is going to be made on these relationships that form video relationship. So the music has become, the whole presentation has become more audio visual. In other words, it's not like one dimensional, you buy a record and you sit down. No. So, and then more and more, I mean, a lot of money was being spent in the early days to promote people, to brand people, the thing. Now, all of those budgets have been cut significantly because people realize that some little things that some guys do, whether it's TikTok or so, have gone to viral and just help people. So the whole question of how much money we need to spend to sell Richard's new outburst. No, it has gone Billboard viral.
Thing. Right.
I just interview a couple of them. It's a random thing. In other words, we find 20 people. Just a phone call and I say, listen, calling from so and so. What was your reaction to the vote? Or, but you know, why you voted for, why you vote, or who you voted for. Because I think one of the things that sometimes when we're thinking about the voter, who the voter is, you know, who these thousands of people who get in the thing, how many of them know any of the people, you know, how many of them are going to take the time out to listen to what it is, or how many of them have had, you know, some name association with with some of the things, but either Marley or this group that has been in America going on, that's been nominated 3 years now, 3 times now. So it's a number of things that we need to do to kind of bring back things into perspective in terms of, like, I mean, like you're an entrepreneur. People, where investment, where something require investment, a certain amount of due diligence is going to be done in terms of how can I make back my money? And you can't expect an investor not to want to make back his money, a reasonable profit. So anybody who's going to do some business now is going to say, what are the chances of me making back my money? And Jamaica, the average Jamaica just full of entrepreneurs at that street level. Youngsters doing things, and then there are these sub-genres in Jamaica that is popping up. And we know dancehall is reacting to the street on a weekly basis. So there's a new song or a new dance coming out every two weeks. Right. And so a youth now who trying to make, and like I always tell my students in my songwriting class, who is your audience? When you're writing the song, who you're picturing, who you're thinking about communicating with, who you're thinking about, who you think gonna buy this thing. So if you, as an artist, and you decide, so, boy, I want a career, and you say, I'm going to start do some research, I'm going to do the road, and you go to a couple of the popular places, and you kind of look at, you will be influenced by what is taking place there, and who you consider an audience for that type of music. And you might go to 2 days and just be blown away by how people reacting to new dance songs and thing. And you might say, boy, if I really want to get into that market, I might have to do something like that. That is, I mean, and because you are the investor, you're everything right now, you make a decision based on that. So I can't blame youngsters for doing music that don't sound like original reggae or original something. But if you're trying to get to another audience who have no idea of what happened on early Monday or this Thursday or so, you have to get some other insight, and you have to be prepared to, you have to make a decision one way. So it was earlier in the days of Michael Rose and thing there, because that was the music, that was the street music in Jamaica. So in other words, when they made that music, they didn't even have to be thinking about another audience then. They could be saying, listen, I was making this music because, and when you went on the street, you went out, you saw people dancing to it. So the producers who were doing it were basing them reference on what was taking place in Jamaica. So because Jamaica is such a creative place, and because of such an instant feedback, because of sound system thing. And what the sound system and the sound man provide is instant feedback. You're there doing something, and somebody come take a mic and do a thing, and him see a reaction, and right away him leave the dance, and him probably go to a studio because something worked.
The whole argument about monetization, like any kind of business, you are going to be looking at numbers, right?
Exactly.
So in the old days, you buy a 45 or you buy an album, and so you have a piece of vinyl that you can claim ownership of, and it's a stamp of whatever.
Tangible, something tangible.
People were basically, the records were crossing the seas or being pressed elsewhere, and people go and pick up a record. Today, we are in an environment where
pick up views.
It's apart from the view is just an extension of the marketing thing, because again, the numbers game play. 200 million people look for a thing, but there's only 2 million may buy, right? And so, having regard to that model, the question is, if you want to be a local artist and stay in the Jamaican environment, and you can make you can hold your own, then that's fine. But if you want to be on the international stage, where you're now going to be assessed against all comers that are out there operating within that frame, the approaches are going to have to be different. And so it says, are we equipped as a business? Is Jamaican music equipped in terms of its business model to operate in that space? That's my question that I have here, Mike. currently? Are we equipped?
I have a suspicion, even with the kind of success that I had in that international thing, that is almost fool's gold. It happens so rarely, and because when it happens so big, it's still kind of attractive. It's still kind of luring. Is that kind of thing? Yes, bust on the Billboard. I mean, not the reggae charts, but the regular Billboard. Have a #1 song on the American Billboard charts. I don't think that. But it's not a necessity for a successful career. Barry Salmon don't have a big hit like that. Barry Salmon is a success. Probably took him a lot of years. And you have Beenie Man career is a successful career, so it's Bounty Killer. A Shaggy, whenever if we can't have a conversation about reggae without including Bob Marley and Shaggy, then we shouldn't bother have, because there are exceptional situations, exceptional numbers. Bob Marley is not just a reggae icon, it's a world icon, it's a musical icon. I mean, when you talk about it's almost like the artist of the millennium. So he has done a great thing for reggae and left a legacy and opened some serious doors. But the question of creating the music of your life, the music for your peers, the music, so it's kind of hard to sit down in Jamaica sometime and just make music to say, boy, for the world. You make some great music, and hopefully one and two of them, maybe a little tweaking from somebody who hears a little different someplace, can make it happen. But it's not something that we can set out to do. I don't think we should have set out. You should have set out to make some good music, the best music you can make in Jamaica, because we have examples of great music being made in Jamaica. And every now and then something happens, somebody likes something, whether there's a third world or something. Or, I mean, it helped when there was a record company that heard it and realized and figured, yes, so with our marketing skills and, and Bunny Ruggs' voice and Ibu's thing there, worse Stevie Wonder endorsed, anything can happen. And that has held us as a people for a while, held the thing, something can happen. And in the meantime, though, people have been making really good careers out of just making really good music, and music that connect with a certain demographic. And that demographic has been growing,
Mikey,
and yeah.
Apart from some of those things, there's something that you had alluded to in previous conversations with you, and it's the indiscipline of the Jamaican artists, or lack of professionalism thereof when it comes to touring. Like, a man will take out 3-4 dates at the same night and only turn up one place. That, to a large extent, has hurt our image overseas. Like, take, for instance, what's happening to Jacure in Amsterdam right now.
Yeah, here up now. You see, and like I say, it used to happen to rock groups used to do the same thing, Don't feel out that none of them thing that peculiar to Jamaicans. What happens is just that because our thing was so fragile, it hurt a little more. But indiscipline has hurt us in a number of ways. I mean, like, not understanding. In other words, we in Jamaica, we take that whole little Jamaican vibe, and the perspective's been beating us. And me and Colin Chana, again, I must go back to that conversation. One of the things he said a couple of years ago, and it confirmed, reggae has suffered from poor journalism. I've been glued to Champs, and I had to text Burtis and say, boss, if the music industry had the level of journalism that Track and Field have, there will be no stopping us. I mean, you listen and hear all of the perspective, the research, the analysis and expertise that people, and the respect for the art form. In other words, the average Jamaican don't know enough. I mean, I think we need to go re-educate the Jamaicans about music, basic music, and have a conversation. We have very few journalists who can speak intelligently about music.